morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Jordan. I wanted to start the show with a public service announcement, and then we're going to get into some thorny legal issues that Jeff and I are going to discuss. But first and foremost, we have an election coming up in 2 Mondays from now. And you might think it's not an important election. In fact, I haven't seen much in the way of legal or election advertising. And I was surprised because they said, we're going to be inundated with commercials, both in favor of and against retaining the 3 Supreme Court justices who are up for retention. Retention is not election. You simply give a thumbs up, yes, I want to retain them, or no, I do not want to retain them. If they get more no's than yeses, they're off the court. And so typically these are not interesting elections. This happens to be a really important one. Some of the things that this Supreme Court has done for us, the people, is voted in favor of election laws that permit in-mail balloting. They have voted in favor of redistricting laws that permit fair representation across the districts in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. They have voted in favor of the people when it comes to what Jeff and I do, personal injury litigation. You might think, well, that's why Dean's stumping for these justices. But the truth be told, these justices temper justice with compassion and common sense. And they have done a good job, and they should be retained. Big business and those on the far right do not want these justices in their seats, and they are spending millions. But where? Not here in the middle of the state. They're intentionally avoiding their propaganda in the east and west coasts of Pennsylvania to hope to lure people into sleeping through this election. Because if these folks had broadcast these advertisements the way they have in the middle of the state, you might get upset. You might think, why are they trying to keep these justices off the bench? And you might get excited enough to actually show up and vote. So they're not doing the advertisements locally. And I only learned that recently when Mr. Jordan explained to me exactly what was going on. Tell us what's going on. And if these justices are not retained, what happens? They all go home, and those 3 seats remain vacant until the governor appoints someone. But the governor's appointment must be co-signed by the Commonwealth's Senate, which is run by the Republicans, and they don't seem to be able to agree on anything.
Not a budget.
Which is why we don't have a budget. Exactly.
Not too much. All right. We don't. Yes.
I mean, in some ways, what you do is demonstrating the sickness of this whole country right now. Mm-hmm. And I don't see it getting better. Do you?
I do. I think, Dean, the way you laid it out as far as what's happening 2 Tuesdays from now, November the 4th. November the 4th is Election Day, and there are a lot of people who are going to be on the ballot, but primarily our concern is the state Supreme Court. You have Justice Dougherty, Donahue, and Weck, who are up for retention. And retention, as you pointed out, Dean, is different in our structure of government than most others. Usually you go on the ballot and it's, I want this person over that person, I want this person over that person, right? When we have judges, common pleas judges, municipal court judges, Commonwealth Superior, and Supreme Court judges, once they get elected, you're not voting for them against somebody else. You're voting retention. And so when you go into the ballot on November the 4th, okay, if you live in Philadelphia County, you'll have the DA, you'll have the city controller, you'll have new judges who are running that you'll have to vote for their names. But also a part of that ballot is going to be the retention of a multitude of judges, okay? And so you're going to have to look for the Supreme Court judges, and you're going to have to vote to retain or not retain. Now, I am voting to retain Justice Doherty, Justice Weck, and Justice Donahue because of many of the reasons that Dean has pointed out. I want you to also understand why this is important. With all that is happening in our country, the courts are the place where a lot of times it is the backstop from some of the crazy, okay? And look, you have a Democratic governor, the House is controlled by the Democrats and whatnot. But if we lose the courts, anything that we try to do can get sent to court, and it could get appealed all the way up to the state Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court could overturn the things that we're doing, that your elected officials that you've elected are doing. So you need a fair court. You need a fair court to stop the crazy from happening.
You're preaching to the choir.
Right.
You know,
Well,
I make my living in front of those judges.
I know.
And what we want is fairness.
Yes.
And consistency.
Yeah.
We don't want a court that has held a certain way for decades to flip a switch because there's new justices on there, and then we're doing things a different way. Yeah. So there has to be consistency, but also some compassion.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there are people at the end of these cases who are counting on the courts to uphold the law.
Yeah.
And to bring to the bar of the court those who have done them wrong.
Yes.
I get it. We need a fair and just court.
We do. And that is why it is extremely important. And Dean, you're right. It is sinister in a way that there